Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, family. Welcome to the I Am Surviving Vegan podcast, episode number 13.
We done made it to 13, y'all.
13 episodes.
And this is a special edition.
Yeah, this is a special one. You see, we got 3 people tonight, or this evening, or you might be listening in the morning or watching on YouTube. We have 3 people this time, and we have something great in store for everyone, for ourselves, for our family, and of course, we're all about documenting our journey. So that's what we're doing tonight. I definitely want to make sure everybody is already following us. I am at IAmSurvivingVegan.
I am Surviving Vegan underscore Grizzly the King. Sorry, y'all.
Surviving Vegan underscore Grizzly the King. And
I am Surviving Vegan Mom.
Surviving Vegan Mom in the building.
Surviving Vegan Mama, y'all.
Yes, we got Surviving Vegan Mom in the building. And make sure you check out all of our podcast episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iCloud, everywhere streaming. Just search I Am Surviving Vegan Podcast. So
Shout out to our main guy, Drizzy.
Shout out to the cameraman, Drizzy. He always keep us right.
He's more than the cameraman.
Yeah.
He's an architect.
Because I don't have time
in this podcast world.
I don't have time to put a podcast together, so shout out to Drizzy for making sure it's getting done and making sure it's happening. But now that we got all the business out of the way, we can talk about why there's 3 people on the podcast today versus the normal 2 people on the podcast. So I kind of been struggling. Oh, Princey, you hear Princey in the back.
Y'all know he always in the back.
Yeah, I hear Princey. Well, I have to come up with a title for this podcast, but the energy of the podcast is Healing Childhood Wounds. And this is why Mom is on the podcast today, because how can you talk about your childhood without having the mom's perspective? So this is my in-law mom, and this is Grizzly the King's actual birth mother. So how did this come about with you being on the podcast today?
Well, I've been watching the podcast, watching you guys' live stories, and I noticed that you guys talk a lot about the trauma.
Right.
And the healing from the trauma.
Right.
So I started thinking, and I'm like, they always talk about the trauma and the upbringings, but what did you guys get positive out of the upbringings? Because something positive had to come out of all the negative.
Right.
And so I brought it to Marcus's attention, Greasy's attention, and I wanted to know, what did I bring to him in his life that was positive?
Okay. So that was the question. That was asked, and then what was your response?
So it was all aligned, first of all, because the night prior, we were already talking, me and the Queen was already talking about just how we want everybody to receive the information we give, and we're talking about our parents specifically. And so just the next day, if y'all hear fireworks in the back, y'all know Juneteenth was yesterday. So people are still popping off fireworks. So don't mind that, y'all. So we got a lot going on this evening. But yeah, so the day before, we was already talking about how to, I guess, get to the point where the parents can understand the traumas that the child felt, or how the child can present the trauma properly without blaming. That was the discussion me and the Queen had. So the day that day that I talked to my mom, it was just like, man, she want to know. So it was just a great alignment.
Yeah,
so my response to that was, it was a long week. I'm gonna put it like that. It was a long week of really analyzing, because you never want to make the woman who brought you into this world feel less in any way, any form of fashion. And that's never my thoughts. So throughout the week, I just kept thinking, like, okay, what was the positive? What was the negative? Weighing positive and negative. Number one positive was my mom taught me how to be respectful. My mom taught me how to take care of myself as an individual. That was very important growing up, and it's very important now in this day in life. I play a role in my life that if I wasn't responsible, if I didn't learn those responsibilities at the young age that I did, who would I be today? I won't probably be the king that Orisha have today. I won't be the father that I am today. That I'm strict, but I have a reason for my strictness, and I guide with that. So, on top of that, I learned that I learned from my mom how to love a woman differently. Now, I say that to say, me and my mom went through a lot of trauma together, dealing with my father. Dealing with
what was your, I'm sorry, I cut you off. I want to get her perspective on that. What was you said you grew up with a lot of trauma. People don't know what trauma that y'all been through.
Okay.
So I want to know, what was your experience growing up with the trauma. What was your experience? And I want Mom to share her experience with the trauma.
Okay.
Because again, both of y'all absorbed trauma from that, and she never has the opportunity to actually talk about the trauma that she dealt with.
Okay.
Go
ahead. Go first.
Well, my upbringing, it was a two, mom and dad in the household. But my dad was an alcoholic.
Okay.
He was an alcoholic. So, but through all of the alcoholism, we were a unit. And what I took out of that, my mom would never leave my dad, even though he would come home and go through all emotions, cursing, just never physical to her, but he would throw stuff around and all of that stuff. But my mom was always there. She was always there to fix his food, wash his clothes, whatever he needed. So as I grew up, this is what I saw. So fast forward, me and Marcus's dad get together, we got married. He had a drug problem. But in my thinking, my mom stayed with my dad through everything. She never left him. So that's what I was taught. So that's what I thought was what I was supposed to do. I would always try to find ways to try to help the situation, put him in rehab, whatever I needed to do to try to make this family stay together. Until it got out of control, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So Marcus has seen a lot because he's the oldest. His dad used to do a lot of stuff. I won't go into details, but Marcus was there with me. It was me and him. Because Marcus and Tony are, well, how many years apart?
About 8? No.
Tony is his younger brother.
Yeah,
That's
we
the second
about
one.
6 years apart.
7 to 8 years apart. So it was me and Marcus through a lot of stuff, me and him. So we took on a lot of stuff. Then I had more kids. Marcus was the oldest, so he was my right hand. So I didn't intentionally put stuff on him, but because it was me and him.
You understand?
So he grew up, and he was the big brother, and he would take care of his brothers. He got 3 brothers after him, so he was there. I taught them to be independent. I taught them, wash your clothes. I taught them how to cook. I taught them everything so they don't depend on a woman to do anything for them. So I gave them that. I gave all of them that. But I know it brought a lot of trauma to Marcus because he wasn't able to grow up and do certain things, even though I had a good job and I provided them. They've never gone without clothes, shelter, food, water, none of that. I was the breadwinner, so I made sure they were good.
Yes.
So, but as far as like the emotional part, I was absent a lot. I was absent because I was trying to make sure they had a roof over their head. So, and I sit here today and I apologize again to my son because I know it hurt him. It hurt me too. For him to have to see that, all of the stuff that he saw. And then losing his granddaddy, that just, men that were very influential in his life, it seemed like he lost them. So that caused a lot of trauma too.
So that was a big sum up, and I'm very happy, my loving mother, to get those words from you, because for me, yes, it was very traumatizing growing up. I think the biggest thing that stuck with me, and now being older and being able to recognize it, was the lack of communication. We, as a family, we were a unit, but we didn't effectively talk about what truly was going on. So a lot of the things that I had to deal with as a child, I just didn't understand, and it never was a time to, in my opinion, from what I can remember, we was able to sit down, you was able to break it down to me, this is what's going on, and just rib me in that path. And that was, growing up, that it felt like I never got a chance to really express those emotions that I might have been feeling at that particular time. And that, even to today, it's been suppressed, and it's so suppressed that it rolls over into the way I raised my children. And for me, that's the biggest thing, because the other day I literally cried because I was in the bed. I was like, I don't know if I'm being a good father, because sometimes I yell, sometimes I get upset fast, things like that. And I know it's not, it comes back from suppressed emotions, but it also was learned behavior, because my mom was very traumatized and she didn't know how to really heal. So if you did, what we do have to realize is that paying attention from, if you saying your father was this type of way, your household was this type of way, those same traditions, based quote unquote traditions, got passed down through you. Then it came to me, and now it's going to our children. So it hurt me because it's like, I don't want to, I know I'm a good father, but I don't want to continuously put that energy out there, because it's hard really to change when you've been up under that for, I'm 30 this year, so you know, I've been dealing with those emotions for 20 plus years. And you get to a point where you know, in realization, which I know you do now, even hearing you realize the things that you might have done wrong. And it's like, man, what can I do? Can I change this right now? And my thing is the true change comes with communication at this point. Yeah. We obviously can't go back. We can't change what happened. But if we can sit down and just talk and just express like, okay, this is what I went through. This is how I felt. I think that puts us in a way better position as a unit and as individuals. You know,
and that's what I say as well. I wasn't there with y'all, but you know, I've been around the family for a long time, 11 years almost, and
12 years.
12 years actually, yeah. So that's exactly what it is. We never wanted you to feel like, you know, we were trying to bash anyone.
Oh, no.
No, we definitely didn't want that.
Right.
But we were using our platform as outlets to show people that, you know, one of our good friends, you know, Sister Keisha, she always talks about, you know, it's taboo to say what you actually experience. Right. You know, even in our community, it's kind of like taboo to talk about racism because you got a good life now. Mm-hmm. But we still have to talk about the things that happen so that we can have it at our forefront and know. We don't want to just talk about the traumas because we want to blame you or blame our moms or our granddads or whoever. We appreciate everything, even the things that you've done for me, I appreciate as well. But I would love for us, as Marcus said, to talk about the things that happened, because in my eyes, us talking about it and us actively realizing, acknowledging it, brought us a lot of success. You know, so we want all of our family members to stop acting like, woo!
That was the bomb going off outside, y'all.
Oh my God. Oh my God, we gotta listen.
They got TNTs outside, y'all.
Hold
Big
on.
TNTs.
Wait, time out, because I was in the middle of an important phrase, but I want y'all to know that we film our podcast in our garage, okay? So that's why y'all hear everything. But when bigger and blessings come, we'll move into actual studio. We won't have this problem. But what I'm saying is we want all of our family to admit that we have this trauma so that we can heal, because we want the success that we experience to be for everybody. Right. But we feel that it only came through us releasing a lot of stuff so that we can attract. You know, a lot of people talk about manifestation, but you only can get what you attract.
You know, and if anybody asks me, how did I get to this point? And for anybody who know me, they know where I was at to where I'm at now. And the only thing that's different for me.
Where were you before?
I was low. I was trying to find my identity. And I'm glad you asked that question, because, you know, I speak about this a few times that as a child growing up, I never knew an identity for myself. You know, we get lost in all these different emotions and different people's spirits and people moving around, and all that's just trying to find an identity. So it's very important, you know, that as your child grows up, you give them their identity. Right. You know, not allowing, like my mom said, she worked a lot. So she worked to provide, and that kept roof, food, everything in our mouth, so we can't take that away. But we also lack that remnant of getting that identity and self, because the word really raised us into what was going on, and we saw so much things that my mama couldn't fight it because she had to make sure that she provided, and that's a one-person household, you know, so it's even harder to deal with that. And like I said, I understand that as being a man now, and that's why I'm sticking with my queen. We'd have been through a lot, and I could have easily turned my back, walked away, or kept going, but I saw my mom, I pick up a lot of energy. Like my mama said, she is a person, she saw my grandma stick in, do everything. I picked that up from my mom, I stick it out. And me and the queen have this talk all the time. We like, maybe if I wouldn't have stuck around, you might have been gone. You know, and we talk about it because we can have these talks now. And I have to say that was a beautiful trait that my mom put into me, because look what I have today. Look at the journey that got me here and who I'm with and what we were able to create based off of that love that my mom was able to give me in that aspect. Yeah, I can't say, okay, my mom didn't love me, because I know my mom loved me. Mm-hmm. Her love language wasn't the best. Her father's love language wasn't the best. And then we go deeper. What was the love language prior to that? I remember I told y'all, I think I remember a story about my grandfather and his stepfather pulled a shotgun to his face as a child. You know, so these are traumatic experiences. I was watching, you know, not just get off subject, but I just take you a timeline. I was watching The Color Purple the other day. Is that what we was watching? And I never paid attention to the beginning of that movie ever. And I watched it from the beginning, and I saw how they portrayed black men, older black men, taking young women, 13, 12, and marrying them, having sex with them, basically just doing what they want to do with them. And then I was so disgusted, and I had to think, I was like, they're mimicking their slave master.
Yeah.
So if your slave master raped your women, did XYZ to women, you have no understanding of what really truly teaching your or loving your woman is. Right. So that's passed down.
Exactly.
So these are the traumas that we're dealing with. So my mama she didn't just pass that on because she didn't have no choice. No, that's what she had and was instilled, and she most likely wasn't able to express it, you know, the way that she would want to. So it passed down, and that's where we at today, you know.
And I like that point that you said about passed down. That's the whole reason. Even when I talk to my students, shout out to the Detox Gang Academy. When I talk to my students and we talk as a family, we are pinpointing these traumas to see how it was passed down. Like Marcus just said, him knowing the trauma that he dealt with, he's like, dang, why does my mom act like that? Then you go to your granddad, why does my granddad act like that? And I go to my great-granddaddy. And then if you follow the road back, you will find that a lot of the ways that we treat each other stem from slavery. So we have to, if we can start realizing that we have this trauma, we can actually defeat the beast. You know, a lot of our people went through being separated from their families. A lot of our people went through being beaten. You know, the women been through being beaten by the master, the things like that. So a lot of those things are embedded in us through our DNA, through learned behaviors. So that is why we talk about trauma, not for the aspect of blaming anyone, but for the aspect of finding out the source of the trauma so that we can heal. Okay, that is what it was about.
And I wanted to ask Mom, like, at you being young, what was your communication in that? How were you feeling when you used to see Granddaddy come in drunk, doing all this? Were you ever able to express yourself or talk about it?
When you saw your dad coming in drunk, were you ever able to express yourself?
Well, no, because we were traumatized.
Okay.
Because it would be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he would come home, everybody's asleep, and he would just come in, and my mom, I guess if she would say anything, that just woke everything up, and you know, it just went like haywire. And so we're in our rooms, you know, scared, shaking. But I love my daddy dearly, you know. What do you do? What do you do? And I like Marcus was saying, my dad has so much trauma in his childhood. My mom, them too. My mom used to be under the house playing with her doll, under the house in Georgia. So why are you under the house in Georgia? Obviously, something is going on in the house or around you that you underneath a house playing with your doll baby.
Wow.
To get away from everything. My grandparents had 16 kids.
What? I never knew that.
Yeah, 8 girls, 8 boys, and they lived in a little shack in Georgia. So the trauma, you know.
That's why we tell, you know, for us to put it out on the table so that we can heal, so we don't pass it on to our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. We want them to grow up and be free of this and can communicate effectively. But we have to do that work of healing, and it's just a blessing that we at this point that we can acknowledge it. You know, you had to work all the time, so even though you felt what you felt, I gotta still keep going. I gotta still, bills gotta be paid.
I had to push.
And we go through that, and that's why we definitely understand, because we go through that now. And we be up in the room, we like, man, we feel like we neglect the babies. You know, we feel like we neglect them in that avenue that's most important. You know, the getting the money and, you know, providing, yes, we got to do it. And that's this whole society is backwards, in my opinion. You know, we got to maneuver the best way we can, but it takes you away from the things that's most important. And that's your children, that's raising them properly, that's giving, instilling the right things to them on a day-to-day basis, being able to talk to them, giving them that open environment to communicate, because that's the future. They are the future, and that's what we have to do. And I mean, like I say, this whole week was a hard week for me, because I had to build myself up for this conversation with my mom, because it's not easy. I'm pretty sure the family out there, y'all know that communicating with your parents sometimes not easy. You know, sometimes we not always ready. I remember when I was young, and I'm not gonna speak on mama. When I was young, I didn't want to hear nothing. Mama wanted to tell me certain things. I didn't want to hear it. You know, I just didn't. I was in what mode I was in, and I was moving how I was moving, and I just did. I X'd that out of my mind. And it's vice versa. The parents do the same thing. They don't, and they can't see that. They got to be tunnel vision on what they tunnel vision on. And it's even harder because I birthed you. So to hear you tell me that I ain't do something right or didn't, I'm a parent now, so I know this. If my child come to me, I can think better now. I can be like, okay, I gotta accept that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's still gonna hit me like, man, I don't want. I'm doing everything I can for you. You know, busting my butt, and then you got the nerve to come to me and tell me that you. That's hard for anybody. That's hard for a parent.
That's
you
hard
know.
for a parent, absolutely.
So for us to be at this point, I'm ecstatic. We didn't know how it was gonna go. I'll tell you that. We didn't know how it was going. We
didn't know Mama was gonna be like, you better not ever get on this one. But I will say that Mom has been on her own healing journey.
And we have seen it. We see it. We definitely see it. And how has that been for you, Mom?
Oh, I'm good. I feel good. I have released a lot of stuff, even with your dad. You know, it was 2 years separation that I had no communication with him. And when you brought the Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving thing around, I reconnected with him, and we had an in-depth conversation. I told him, you've never apologized to me on the scale that I need you to apologize to me. Yeah, saying sorry every time you in and out, that didn't cut it for me. So when we actually had a heart-to-heart, and he got on his knees and apologized to me, it was like a weight just came off of me.
Yeah.
Because I felt so compressed and beat down from that
experience.
20 plus years.
20 plus
Marcus
years.
about to be 30 years old.
And it's been since before I was born.
Exactly.
Literally. So that's 30 years.
You know,
trauma just carrying around.
So when he did what he did, I mean, now I can feed off of his energy when he's around me. And before, it was never like that. Never.
Okay.
It was always, I was angry. So now I'm not angry anymore.
That's good. That's good. You made the decision to release that.
I love my kids. I try to do everything to try to keep things going. Like with Brayla them, it's like I watch y'all every day, even though I don't see y'all every day. I see y'all every day. So,
on Instagram.
and I be showing people at work, see my kids, see what they doing. Everybody be like, wow, they doing big things. I'm like, and I'm proud of them.
Absolutely.
And I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much.
I know where you've come from too.
Yeah, you know I was be outside in that backyard like rain on
before you
me.
was outside in the backyard, we was running through the clubs.
So
turned up
we going way back before Brayla.
We can go back, y'all. We can go way back. We was just wow, you know.
I'm just saying, y'all have evolved so much, and I see the growth if nobody else sees the growth. You know, because people don't know y'all like I know y'all.
Yeah.
I've seen things y'all went through. But now y'all together.
One thing about it, I would definitely say we wouldn't have made it to this point.
If it was not for you.
What about you? Many a days we done been in that house, no rent paid, no light bill, no utilities, and we just living and eating and trying to figure it out. You know,
and that's how it's supposed to be. I would never ever push my kids out to the point where they can never come home. I would never do that.
Right.
I don't care if you 50 years old. If I got a roof, y'all got a roof.
That's what I'm talking
about. And that is truly her character, and that's what I love, you know, comes and pours from, and that's why we was like, we want Mom just to like release some stuff that we know you carry. We don't know to the extent that you feel it, but we know because we know the situation.
Exactly.
So we happy to hear that. We happy. We happy.
I think that I definitely believe that this move, like I got to me and her talk about it, and we be like, when our children get older, we know we ain't do everything right. We know that they're gonna have some kickback.
Yeah.
You know, they gonna have they picked up trauma too.
Yeah,
even in this little time that they done been on this earth. You know, they picked up the trauma. So we talk all the time, we like being prepared to deal with that when it comes and not be so quote unquote self-centered about it. And we just be ready. Like it's big for me because I know that I can be crucial, you know, on top of things. So to know that I know I made an effect in their lives that might be negative when they get older, I'm ready for them to come. I want them to come to me, talk to me about it so that I can apologize, open up, show my faults, and then we can continue to heal together. You know, that's important.
That's one thing I want to talk about, how we can wrap it up. We was able to have this discussion because everybody here equally says that I have a trauma and understanding that I haven't been the best person and ready to apologize. You know, I know a lot of our viewers, Surviving Vegan family might be like, I wish I could do that with my family. it took us some time to get to this point. You know,
Right.
we've been on this journey
Time.
for 5 years. So this is 5
longer
years.
than that.
Yeah.
We've been on it. Been on
But
longer
I'm
than
saying like
that.
our own personal healing journey is like
Yeah,
5 years.
5 years, yeah.
So now we're coming to this point. Like you said, the vegan Thanksgiving that we did last year.
Right.
That wasn't like first year we vegan, everybody
Right,
ready. That
right.
took 5 years of doing
Right.
that to get everybody to come in to see.
Right.
So, you know, be vigilant on your own journey, your self journey, your healing journey, and just believe that it'll all fall into place. Okay,
Yes, yes.
but for how do you know it's falling into place, and how do you know that it's time to have that conversation? You know it's time to have a conversation when everybody can sit down and be respectful to each other. When everybody can sit down and say, "I played this role, you played this
Right.
role, and now let's make amends." Because ultimately, communication is supposed to bring you closer together.
Correct.
If y'all
Not
try to have a
pull you
conversation
apart.
and y'all arguing, y'all fighting, y'all leave the conversation upset, that's not effective communication. This, what you saw here, was a healthy communication, healthy way to bond and actually talk about what our experiences were.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
It definitely was. I'm ecstatic to be here with my mother, my lovely, beautiful mama, and doing this healing together. This just brings us more closer than ever. I truly believe that, and I know that we just got sky the limit right now.
the universe
We
is
better
the
be riding
limit.
on high, y'all. We riding on high right now.
So thank you everyone that has tuned into this I Am Surviving Vegan podcast episode number 13. Make sure you follow me. I'm Surviving Vegan, Surviving Vegan _Grizzly the King, and Surviving Vegan Mom on Instagram. Check out the podcast on Spotify, iCloud, Apple Podcasts, all of the above. Search the I Am Surviving Vegan podcast. You will find us and listen to us. Share with your friends. Love y'all.
We
Peace,
love
love, and
y'all.
light.
Thank y'all.